Joining us today is Professor Dave Cliff from the University of Bristol, a computer scientist who's been researching artificial intelligence for over 40 years, long before AI became the hottest topic on the planet. While most of us only started talking about AI recently, Dave has spent decades studying it, building it, questioning it, and helping shape the conversation around where this technology is heading. He's worked with some of the biggest names in science and technology, advised industry and government, and he's also brought these ideas to the public as a presenter on BBC4 documentary The Joy of Logic, where he showed the ideas behind the computers and AI aren't just for academics, they affect all of our lives. So today, we've got someone who doesn't just read the headlines about AI, he's helped write the story. We're going to talk about what AI can really do, what it can't do, what's being overhyped, what's being underestimated, and what the future might look like for all of us. Professor Dave Cliff, welcome to Chop and Chat.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
So you've been researching AI for over 40 years.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yes. And how has your experience been throughout the years? What have you learned? Mm-hmm. And what's the biggest changes you've seen?
That's several questions.
Several questions in one.
So
straight in there.
Yeah. So when I started in the mid 1980s, AI was really not very well known. There had been like a burst of activity around the early 70s, the early 1970s. And the problem was that people doing AI research in the early 70s, they kind of made a number of promises or claims. They said, we're going to have computers more intelligent than a medical doctor, or computers that can do advanced engineering design. And then for one reason or another, those promises never really cashed out. And so there was a period where AI was kind of seen as a dirty word. It was like a field that had promised too much and delivered too little. And within the AI research field, they talk about that period as one of the AI winters. There's summer where everyone's really excited and it's in the newspapers and young people want to get jobs in AI and people are forming AI companies and investors are pouring money in. And then there are AI winters where everyone's really pissed off with AI because it promised too much, it spent lots of money, nothing happened. Yeah. And I've lived through probably 3 summers and 2 winters, depending on how you want to define it.
Yeah.
And right now, it's quite definitely the biggest summer that AI has ever had. Everyone is talking about it. World leaders are meeting to discuss AI. At the time that we're recording this, companies like Anthropic and OpenAI and Elon Musk's XAI are talking about stock market listings that will value them in hundreds of billions of dollars, if not some number of trillions of dollars.
They put a lot of money into it.
Oh yeah.
It was this year they did.
But I think there's a lot of hype right now. I think actually I remember very clearly the internet.com bubble, and I think there's very strong similarities there, which is not to say that everyone is lying, because if you think back to the internet.com bubble, there was a huge amount of excitement. There were hundreds of companies, lots of them took money from investors. Lots of those companies crashed, but some companies didn't crash and they became global powerhouses like Google or Amazon, and a few years later Facebook or Meta. And the capabilities of AI that we've seen most famously with ChatGPT, but the whole ChatGPT is an instance of what's known as generative AI, because it can generate text, English language or any human language, that looks like it really knows what it's doing. It looks like it understands some advanced topic. So there it's generating text, but similar technologies can generate images or can generate movies, which give us not only good things, but also bad things like deep fakes. Can generate music and so on and so forth. if you'd said to me at the start of my career 40 years ago that by the time I got to, I'm now 60 and I'm about to retire, if you'd said this will be capable at the time you retire, I would have laughed in your face. I would have said, no way, that's never going to happen.
So come a long way.
Yeah, it's. I think everyone.
Or has it come a long way, or has it gone in a direction you would have never thought it would go?
Well, I think both.
Yeah.
So the capabilities of generative AI to appear to be intelligent, but I would argue that Gen AI is not genuinely intelligent, and we can talk more about that in a bit. I think the capabilities are. I don't know anyone who was an expert in AI who 15 years ago would have predicted this to be possible, with the exception of one or two visionary people in the companies like OpenAI or Anthropic who really just thought, okay, no, if we build a system that's big enough and train it on enough data, by which they meant every single piece of data they can find on the internet, then we'll have something that gives the impression of being very, very intelligent. I would have bet against that being true, but they bet that it was true, and they were right. I was wrong.
Yeah.
But I think.
Why did you think that it wouldn't work back then?
Well, it depends what you mean by work.
Yeah.
So I think it's really, really tempting when you use ChatGPT to think that it's intelligent, or if you use a generative AI system to, you can type in, make me an image of a mouse riding a white horse, and you get this astonishing, almost like photorealistic, or you can say, make me a cartoon image of a mouse riding a horse, and then it obviously looks like a cartoon. And then if you don't like that, you can say, no, give me a different mouse or a different horse. The thought that that capability would be possible never entered my mind. But one of the things that's always really interested me about artificial intelligence, AI, is that as soon as you start working in it, you actually have to confront what's basically philosophy, because you have to have a good understanding or your own personal definition of what does it mean to be intelligent, what does it mean to understand something.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at any Gen AI system, so ChatGPT or DALL-E or any of the image generators, they don't actually understand what they're generating. So the image generators don't know what a horse is.
We have to decide.
They don't know what a mouse is.
Yeah.
They just know that if you type MOUSE, this certain arrangement of parts of an image should be in the image. And if you also type HORSE, this certain arrangement of parts. So famously, AI is often bad at generating hands. I guess it would have trouble with my hand because I've got a missing finger, but often because the AI image generators don't have that factual knowledge that humans have 5 fingers normally, they'll often generate 6-fingered hands and not think that that's unusual. Or sometimes you get 3-legged humans. Yeah. And similarly, when ChatGPT generates a bunch of text, it's basically there's actually a technical definition of bullshit for which it's true that ChatGPT is just generating bullshit. It's generating stuff that sounds like the words that would be used by someone that understands that topic. Yeah. But ChatGPT doesn't have any sense of understanding. So for instance, with every successive release of different versions of ChatGPT and the other text generators, you can ask it things like, how many times does the letter R occur in the word strawberry? And it gets it wrong because it doesn't think, okay, the word, it can't reason. It doesn't think the word strawberry is STR, that's 1 R, AWBERR, that's another 2, so therefore the answer is 3. It just knows that if you ask that kind of a question, then an answer sounds roughly like this. The number of R's in strawberry is 1. Yeah. And so it'll put that out, and then if you correct it, it says, oh no, yes, I'm sorry, the number of R's in strawberry is 15. Yeah. And it's just bullshit. It hasn't got innate knowledge. It doesn't understand the semantics, the meaning of the words. Yeah. It just knows that if you've got this particular sequence of words in the question, then the chances are the best sequence of words in the answer is and I mean, if you want, I could try and explain what's going on inside ChatGPT, but fundamentally it's just like a very, very big dice with lots and lots of sides on it.
Yeah.
And it rolls one dice for what word should come next, and then it rolls another dice for what word should come after that.
So if I was to ask the same question, and you were to ask the same question, sometimes it can be different.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what makes it interesting, is because if you and I ask the same question, like if you're on your laptop and I'm on my laptop, and we both get the same answer, then you just think, okay, well, it's just like some search engine, right? It's just giving the same text for the same question. But it doesn't. There's this random element in there. I mean, I guess one very simple example is, for many people that understand English or who speak English, there's this kind of very simple sentence that gets used a lot, which is the cat sat on the mat. Mm-hmm. So if you say to ChatGPT, please complete this sentence, the cat sat, internally it kind of generates a dice where on is, like, let's say it's a 20-sided dice, but the word on is going to be on 10 of those 20 sides. So when it rolls the dice, the chances are it'll come up with the cat sat on, bigger. But it might be the cat sat by or the cat sat underneath, because there's a chance that those words come after the cat sat in all the English that it's ever seen on the web. And then once it's got the cat sat on, it generates a new dice, and this dice will have the on a lot of the faces, but might also have a, because it could be the cat sat on a mouse. And it rolls that dice, and now we've got now the chances are we've got the cat sat on the, but it could be the cat sat on, the cat sat below a.
Yeah.
And if it happened to have generated the cat sat below a, the next dice could be a whole bunch of things.
Anything,
but if it happened to generate the cat sat on the next dice would have mat on loads of the faces.
Yeah, because
and it rolls that dice. Yeah. And so then the chances are it comes up with the cat sat on the mat, because it's seen that a lot. So it knows that sequence of words is most likely.
Yeah.
And fundamentally, that's what ChatGPT does every single time. So the thing I worry about is people who don't understand the technology don't realise it's a bullshitter.
Yeah.
They think it actually knows. And so they'll do things like, my mum's been diagnosed with this disease, what should I do? Or I'm in this difficult legal situation. They're using it as a substitute for medical expertise, or for legal expertise, or for relationships. There's increasing evidence that some people use it essentially as a therapist. They say, I'm feeling sad about X.
Yeah.
And it comes back with what looks like a therapist or a good friend would say, but actually it's just bullshit.
Yeah.
And because it has no understanding of semantics or meaning or the impact of its words, it's just bullshitting at you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it will say, well, perhaps you should kill yourself.
Yeah.
Because it means nothing to ChatGPT. Right? It's just roll the dice.
Yeah.
The words "kill yourself" are the most likely.
Yeah.
And that can have obvious, devastating impacts. So I think
it's a very dangerous game to play if you take it that far.
Yeah.
What would it be? What would you advise somebody on? Why would you use it for? Would you let your kid use it, and how would you tell him?
Well, I mean
Zach is old enough.
Yeah,
now,
so my kids are 25 and 20,
yeah. But
and they do use it.
Yeah.
And I teach at a university where it's quite obvious. Very large numbers of our students use it and trust it, and obviously I don't want to name any names, but it's not impossible that some of my colleagues might be using it as well from time to time. I've avoided using it because I enjoy the process of writing and I enjoy the process of thinking, and I don't trust it because I know that it's just a bullshit generator.
Yeah.
The thing that I worry about is the extent to which people in all walks of life and with huge range of levels of education or intelligence or whatever, people are starting to think of this thing as a genuine form of intelligence.
Like how we think now a phone is part of us, really. A mobile phone is literally part of us. And when Google came about, we started saying Google for everything.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
now I feel like ChatGPT is just part of conversation all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the difference is with Google, if I look something up on Google, it gives me
We
pointers.
decide what we click on.
Yeah, and it gives me pointers to web pages that, historically at least, up until ChatGPT, those web pages were written by real humans who probably cared about what they were writing. They were journalists, or they, people that edit Wikipedia, or they were bloggers. So fundamentally, Google allowed us to connect to information that we wanted to find. The problem with ChatGPT is it generates stuff that looks like information, but if you know how it works, you know that the chances are it's utter bullshit. Yeah. Now, it's utter bullshit that's generated on the basis of these big dice that it makes from everything it's read on the web. So if there's enough true stuff out on the web that's factually correct, then that dice, by chance, will generate correct answers.
Yeah.
And it's those correct answers that then fool people into thinking that ChatGPT knows the answer to anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't spend a lot of time following this up, but every now and again I save a link to, when I see a news story of, and it's happening increasingly, is legal firms of lawyers, quite often the most junior lawyer, the most recent, kind of only been in the company 6 months and only graduated last year, they get the job of like padding out the reports that lawyers have to submit to courts. And every now and again, one of these junior lawyers might be in a bit of a rush, or maybe they've got a hangover, and they just give it to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT produces a stream of bullshit which looks just like proper legal argument.
Yeah.
And the junior lawyer puts it in the report, and then the senior lawyer is a bit too busy to actually read it and trusts the junior lawyer, and so then it goes to the court, and then the judge says, what is this? Like, you're just putting fiction into the court. These cases never exist. This judgment was never made. And so it's really embarrassing for everyone concerned. But it's, fundamentally, it's because people trust it too much. Like that junior lawyer didn't realise that they were making a mistake because they believed it to be genuinely intelligent, and it's not. I think the question was, what do I tell my kids? I just tell them.
Yeah, it's a very complicated, obviously.
But it's not. And then I guess the other thing that makes it even more difficult is it turns out there are some bits of there are some types of work, of intellectual activity, of like knowledge-based work, that actually a well-trained bullshitter is just as good as a human. And the primary example of that comes from my field, which is computer science, where for many years, forever, people like me, academics who train people that are doing degrees in computer science, we teach people how to program, and then they go out and get jobs as coders, as software developers. And astonishingly, especially there's this one product called Claude, which comes from Anthropic, and Anthropic are a company that broke away from OpenAI. Claude can write code as well as most humans. And so I can now say to it, or anyone can say to it, you type in, write me a program, I don't know, that will be a simple pocket calculator, but on my Windows desktop. And it'll just go away and come back and say, how about this? And it might not look great, but then you can say, well, I don't like the interface, make it more rectangular, or make it more square, or the numbers are unclear, or you forgot to include a percent button, and it goes away and it comes back. So, and the thing is, that code actually works, it actually executes. So that's almost like if I had, in a parallel universe, hired a very junior developer, a human, and I'd say, okay, it's Monday, 9 a.m, here's what I'd like you to do by Wednesday. Go away and write me a pocket calculator that runs on the desktop. That human would go away and do it and then come back, and it might not be brilliant. I might say, well, you forgot the percent button, or the numbers aren't clear. But then the human would go, okay, right, I'll go
back and do it.
So actually, the job of being a software developer, a decade ago or 5 years ago, it looked like if you had those skills, you would be safe in employment probably for the rest of your life. And now it's really looking like that business has changed dramatically, and the number of and then it depends on how you look at it. It could be that the number of people earning their living being software developers falls dramatically, and then you've got a problem with unemployment. What are they going to do instead? And they might need welfare because they can't earn any money. Or the alternative, the kind of happy view, is all of those people stay in their jobs, but now they're way more productive. So one person is still being paid one salary, but they're doing the work that was previously of 10 people.
10 people, yeah.
And so then economic growth could really explode. So there's a possible upside, a good story, and a possible downside.
So people will lose jobs, but then it will also speed up quite a bit.
Well, I'm not an economist, and it's the economists that think about these things. But I think you can tell a story that it's going to be great, and you can tell a story that it's going to be a disaster. And I don't know enough about economies and job markets and those kind of things to make any accurate predictions. That's not my expertise.
So this is what I was going to ask you next. That as you said, it can go anyway, right? And are you scared?
No. Well, it depends. Scared of what? So.
Because back then, when things were happening, when you were hitting AI winters, nobody noticed. Now everybody is got an opinion, and
okay. So there are things I'm scared of. So there's a yes answer to your question, and then there are a couple of big things that I'm not scared of. So there's a no answer. So I think the reason why I immediately said no is one thing that. Including, start again. So one thing that lots of people, including people who are really senior in AI, both in universities, research labs, and also in companies, is there's a large number of people who talk about the singularity, or AGI, artificial general intelligence, where AI is going to be so intelligent and so competent, and it will understand everything, that basically it will make humans its slaves. And eventually AI will take over the planet, and we will be, at best, the servants of the AI, and at worst, the AI will just decide that we are no longer needed, and we will be made extinct. Humans will be made extinct by AI. And that's just the worst form of kind of scaremongery science fiction, because. So for a start, when I started doing AI research in the mid 1980s, there was this one researcher called Ray Kurzweil, who's a very good AI researcher, but he started talking about the singularity. There will be a point where AI is super intelligent, more intelligent than any human. And I think back then, 40 years ago, he said it was about 10 years into the future, so it should have happened in the mid 1980s. And then if I remember correctly, in the mid 1980s, he said it's about 10 years away.
Yeah.
But it never happened in the mid-1990s. And then if you look at what he was writing in the mid-1990s, he was saying maybe 20 years away.
Yeah.
And it's forever just out of reach.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to happen. When I was a teenager, America and Russia were not getting on at all well.
Yeah.
And it really looked like there was a reasonable likelihood that there would be an exchange of nuclear weapons, probably in Europe.
During the Cold War.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And you could tell a plausible story for how humanity might be wiped out by an accidental nuclear war. One computer misreads a radar signal, it sends a launch signal, missiles are launched, the enemy, the other side, retaliates, nuclear bombs go off all around the planet, nuclear winter, planet ecosystem devastated, humans die out. I've never heard a plausible story for how that would happen with AI. Okay, so let's just say you build AGI, something that's more intelligent than all the most intelligent humans ever. If it starts to threaten to switch us off, we just pull the plug out, and then it hasn't got any electricity, and then it's over, right? So this kind of notion that the AI is going to take over the planet and make us slaves and eliminate us doesn't seem to have any plausible sequence of steps that leads to that outcome. It's just people say, be scared of this outcome. So I'm not scared of that. I am scared of the impact it has on people's intellects. People, I think, the danger is people become more and more dependent on tools that they don't really understand and that they trust too much.
Yeah.
I worry about...
So eventually sort of will become slave, but for that reason. Not so much them saying, hey, you're my slave. It's more like us getting lazier and just depending on it, and then but that can happen.
Yeah, kind of dependence.
That is where it's going.
I worry that that's happening. Yeah. I mean, I guess I worry that if you look at the US stock market over the last 3 years or so, it's shown astonishing growth. Lots of people have made lots of money, and a lot of that is based on the assumption that AI is going to be fantastic. If we enter another AI winter, that stock market bubble will almost definitely burst. And the problem with when stock market bubbles burst is quite often they have negative impacts for everyone. Yeah. So not just Americans, despite the fact that we're talking primarily about American equity, American companies, not just those people that invested in those particular companies, but the whole global economy could be very badly destabilized if the AI bubble bursts.
So this time it's going to be, the damage will be much bigger.
Yeah.
Compared to when...
Could be. I mean, again, you should probably invite an economist in to talk about the details, but I worry about that. Maybe because I don't understand economics that well, but I remember, I was working in the industry at the time of the dot-com boom.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, how bad was it last time, and what are certain patterns that you saw, which you can see now also?
Well, it was... so there was a lot of investment money chasing a few good ideas, and there were a lot of bad ideas that attracted investment money. And when the bubble burst, those bad ideas, the companies that had attracted often millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars, they just disappeared overnight. That money is all gone. The people that had been saving for their pension or saving for their kids' college fund or just general savings suddenly had lost all their savings because they'd been invested. There was a very high level of unemployment for people in the tech sector, and in some cities, most notably San Francisco and Silicon Valley, suddenly all these people that are out of work are no longer going to restaurants, so the restaurants start to lose money. They're saving less, they're spending less on haircuts, maybe only going once every 2 months rather than once every month. So a whole economy can be depressed by this kind of domino effect, and plausibly that could happen globally. And then, another issue is, the biggest financial crisis that's been in my lifetime was the global financial crisis of 2007, 2008. And arguably, AI or machine learning had a pretty big role to play in that, because...
But we don't hear about that much.
No, because it's pretty deeply technical. I mean, if you've ever watched the movie The Big Short...
I've seen it.
Yeah, so they talk about
it's more about the house market bubble.
Yeah, and there were these things called collateralized debt obligations, CDOs, which were basically, they took lots of people's mortgages and cut them into little slices, and then it was combined by machine learning and AI, an algorithm. Right. So no human really understood what was inside these things. They just trusted it in much the same way as we now trust ChatGPT output. Yeah. And then when the trouble happened, when the stuff hit the fan, no one really knew what anyone owned, and no one knew what their obligations were to other banks, and no one knew whether this kind of financial instrument that they thought was going to make them some money, whether it was worth anything or nothing, or whether it was going to lose them money. And so everyone stopped interacting with everyone, and the global financial markets basically ran to a halt. And it also, my personal research for my career, most of my career, has been using AI and machine learning to do what human traders do in financial markets. And like in 1996, I invented this algorithm that does what a trader does. And it just so happened that it was kind of basically one of the first two automated trading algorithms. And back in those days, if you were a trader in the financial market working for an investment bank or a hedge fund, you could earn an awful lot of money, like very, very large amounts of money. And the argument was, these are very intelligent human beings. That's why they earn so much money. And there's no way a machine will ever do what those people do. And I just kind of, I'd done a little bit of trading myself, and I thought about it, and I thought the chances were that actually a bit of AI and a bit of machine learning and a bit of data, if you brought them together in the right way, you could probably do what a medium skilled trader would do. And so I wrote that program and basically gave it away for free. Which didn't, long story, but I mean, we open sourced it, so we kind of told the world this is possible and here's the code.
Yeah.
And then lots of banks started using that code, and now there are very few human traders at that level, at the institutional level, of like one big bank or hedge fund deciding what to buy or sell and then actually executing that trade. It's all automated. It's all machines
and you
talking to machines.
Started that.
I was one of two people that kickstarted that.
One or two people in this entire world.
According to Wikipedia. Like, if you read Wikipedia, which is never wrong. So I was doing this work in '96.
That would have been a lot of money, Dave.
Yeah, it would have been. But I'm at peace with that. I mean, it's 30 years ago that I did that. But so I think a lot of the financial market instability that we've seen since the global financial crisis is because you've got AI machine learning computers trading with other AI machine learning computers, and everyone's hoping for the best. No one wants to crash the markets because you lose money when that happens. Everyone's running them trying to make money. But because you don't fully understand what they're doing, you can never fully predict whether they're going to crash the market or lose you some money or not. So I worry about the stability of financial markets running AI.
No, that's pretty big. Wow. So we can be in big trouble. Just looking at the example that you gave from 2007-8. Hope not.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Right. On to my next question then. You covered quite a bit there.
Okay.
I wanted to ask you, if you were 18 years old again today, what would you study? Would you do anything different?
Oh, good question. Well, me personally, I mean, I've stayed in computer science in universities for most of my career. I spent 7 years working in industry for Hewlett-Packard and for Deutsche Bank, but most of the time I've been in computer science departments in universities, because I still think it's really stimulating, because the stuff that we have to know this year probably wasn't invented 10 years ago. I mean, there's some basics like how you program a computer or how computers should be built.
Changing, advancing.
Yeah. So I personally would still choose to study computer science, but I think I didn't go into it in order to become a coder. I think if you want to be, I think the role of coder, software developer, is changing really dramatically. And at good computer science departments like mine at the University of Bristol, we're doing our best to make sure that the students, the education they get over the time they spend with us, prepares them for the job market they're entering, which now will include very large use of AI, but also that they've got the educational, that they're equipped with the kind of skills for learning and teaching themselves, that they'll have a 40-year career that's been as much fun as mine. So I wouldn't say don't study computer science, but I do think that there are other subjects which are, I mean, I think if you understand maths and statistics, that's kind of that's a passport to an awful lot of different careers and different, if you're very, very good at mathematics and statistics and data analysis, you could end up, I don't know, being involved in the design of Formula One racing cars, or being a pilot, or being a mathematics teacher, or proving some theorem about mathematics. There's just like loads of things you can do with maths. I think also, I mean, there's, in British society in the last 25 years, or maybe slightly longer, sort of since the Blair government, there's been a focus on getting very large numbers of people into university education. And I think actually they've forgotten that having a skill, having a trade, doesn't necessarily require you to go to university. And actually, if you're a plumber or an electrician or a builder, your job is much, much more safe than if you're a software developer, or a barber, a nurse, a teacher.
Will I be making more money?
Yeah. So, I mean, any of the caring professions where you have to interact with human beings, because we are social animals and we like interacting, and we want our kids to be taught by humans, not by robots. We want our old people to be cared for by humans, not by robots. If you're having to build an extension on a house or rewire a room or fix a plumbing leak, it's going to be a very, very long time before a robot takes your job, right?
Yeah.
Because you need to get into difficult spaces and kind of work out what's going on.
Yeah.
All of the emergencies, all the blue light services, emergency services, all the armed forces, all of those offer like really vitally important roles that society needs, and really interesting jobs and challenging jobs.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need a degree for them, and I think maybe people should be less hung up on going to university. I'm about to retire from university.
You can say that now.
Yeah.
You can say that now.
But I think it's important. I think people that do apprenticeships and learn trades are just as have learned as much and are as qualified and as important to society as people that have gone that have gone off and done university degrees.
Yeah.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah, it does answer the question. I mean, you still do what you...
Yeah. I mean, there's a line that someone else used that I've recycled, which is, if most of your job involves sitting at a computer screen, you should probably be worried.
Yeah.
But if most of your job doesn't, you've got less to worry about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a great answer. But while you mention F1, I know you love F1.
This is true. Yeah.
Would you not want to work with that? Maybe somehow get in.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I'd like to be a rock star, but I can't sing. I'd like to be an F1 driver, but
maybe they need somebody to.
Oh yeah. I mean, F1. So I grew up
Yeah.
in this tiny village in South Oxfordshire called Grove, which is the home of Williams Formula One. And so several of my friends at school ended up working, spending their entire career. They left school, went to Williams, and now, being my age, they're starting to retire. But I mean, there's lots of jobs that I personally might have, in my fantasies, enjoyed more than the career I've had. But actually, I have really, my career's coming to an end now, and my university career's coming to an end, and I consider myself really lucky because I hung around with really interesting, bright students and really interesting, bright colleagues. And part of the job is write scientific papers, and you go to conferences to present the paper, and people argue with you and you try and convince them of your views. But those conferences tend to happen in very nice cities and someone else pays. So I've been very fortunate that I've visited a lot of really interesting places as part of my job, attending conferences or doing guest lectures or teaching courses. So I mean, there's still a place for universities, absolutely, but I think people should be less hung up about. I think people shouldn't forget that trades and skills are just as important as degree level learning.
Yeah, perfect. Right, so here's another question for you. If Parliament asked you tomorrow to write 3 rules for AI, what would they be?
Well, like laws.
Yeah.
I think the first one would be that politicians shouldn't make laws about AI without properly understanding it. A few years ago, maybe 3 years ago, the British government convened this international conference on AI that was held at Bletchley Park, which is where Alan Turing kind of did all the code breaking work and worked alongside people that built some of the first computers. And at that meeting, big companies like Microsoft and Google and OpenAI, and I can't remember if Anthropic were there or not, but they basically said, we have this technology and it's so important that you, the government, must legislate to make sure that we don't destroy the world. Again, it was this play to kind of AGI taking over and the singularity. And the government just lapped it up. And actually, I think that was basically a con trick, because their technology isn't going to destroy the world. But what they were doing was saying, please legislate to make it harder for any of our competitors to come in. We've got the technology and we'd like it to be ours. Thank you very much.
So the headlines that we hear then in the end is all the danger stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
And what they just really wanted was to scare the government
into making life much nicer for those companies.
They need to have good people advising them.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So, I mean, it's not. You can't expect every politician to understand, to be an expert in everything. But if you look, most politicians, or in fact many civil servants in the relevant roles, don't necessarily come from a technical background. They might have studied, I don't know. There's a lot of politicians
are also very old.
Yeah, and they study this degree called politics, philosophy, and economics, all of which are important topics. Yeah. But it would be good if they were better informed. That would be my primary thing.
Yeah. So that's number one.
Okay. Number two would be another worry about AI, and something that we haven't really touched upon in this conversation, is the way in which data science and machine learning, and to some extent AI, can be used to circumvent or interfere with free and fair elections. So a few years ago there was this big scandal about a company called Cambridge Analytica, where they basically argued that they could influence an election by targeted social media postings. So this kind of brings us into the overlap between AI and machine learning, and then social media. And right now there's a lot of discussion about how much screen time should kids have. And I think people like Mark Zuckerberg must just be laughing their head off when they see that debate, because a smartphone on its own is not a bad thing. A kid looking at a screen on its own, in the abstract, is not a bad thing, because the kid might be watching might be watching David Attenborough, Life on Earth. So screens are not bad, and smartphones are not bad. It's social media and the way in which social media companies can now deliver targeted content to users, where, obviously there's a lot of concern over kids, but actually adults can be delivered targeted content where, if the algorithm knows that maybe you have a particular political extreme view, it can feed you more and more extreme content. Yeah. And it used to be that eventually it would run out of that content, but now we've got generative AI, right? Yeah. So now that content will never run out. If you want to be watching content that's about a particularly unpleasant topic, either politically or maybe something very unpleasant sexually. Yeah. It used to be the case that in principle, eventually you would have seen everything there was to see. Yeah. But now it's infinite, and also it can be tailored to your particular. They can analyse everything that you've liked and how long you've liked it, or whether you clicked on a 3-minute video but you gave up after 10 seconds because it wasn't quite your thing, and they can use that information to generate more stuff that feeds you. And all that, as far as I understand it, social media companies like Facebook in particular, all they care about is what they refer to as engagement. How much time you spend looking at their screen, not a screen, but the screen that's running Facebook, because they make money by selling adverts. And they sell adverts to the people that want to get some publicity on the basis of how much screen time people are watching. Yeah. And they make claims that they care and that they're taking steps to ensure that things don't get too bad for kids and yada yada. But I don't think they're. If you judge them by their actions rather than by their words, I think their actions tell a very different story from their words.
They still want to make money.
Recently in the last few weeks, there's been talk in the media, on the radio or the telly, about maybe Britain introducing laws like Australia, where I think it's for under 16s, you just can't use social media. And spokespeople come out from social media companies saying, oh, well, the problem with that would be suddenly at 16 you're exposed to social media, and surely you should have had some some practice at, like it would be better if it happened younger. We don't make that argument about cigarettes or about alcohol or sex or getting married or driving a car. Like you're not allowed a little bit of booze or a few cigarettes until you're 18. It's just understood that it's bad for children. And I think the problem is there's, we're talking here about companies where they have extremely large amounts of money, and they can use that money to buy political influence. So those people that turn up and are being interviewed and saying, "Oh well, be a bit rough if they go straight to Facebook on their 16th birthday." They're probably being paid an awful lot of money, and that probably helps them say those things that actually I don't think they really believe. I think basically they're paid to tell the party line, not to. It's not a plausible argument as far as I'm concerned. So I worry. So my next worry. I was making up laws, wasn't I? So I think just I'd want there to be more clarity about what is good and what is bad especially for young people, but also for vulnerable people, and actually for the whole population.
Maybe it would be a good idea to have a good spokesman for AI being on media, things like that, to just really say, just make it very clear what are the dangers.
I mean, I think
that's what they don't want, right?
I think it would. I mean, it feels to me like, and maybe this is already happening because I just don't know, but it feels like in secondary schools, when kids are 15, 16, there should be, as part of their, I think they call it PSHE, and I can't remember what all that stands for, but like in order to understand how to be an adult and how to be a citizen, you're given sex education, and you get some sense of the legal framework that society requires you to abide by, and you get some training in what it is to run a bank account, or to have money and budgets and stuff like that. There should be teaching that makes people understand how these algorithms work, and so that people understand the way in which their attention is being manipulated, and also how generative AI works, so that people both don't trust its content, but also realise that content that you are looking at and it looks like it comes from a news channel may actually be just a piece of fiction that was roll a few dice and you get this video, or roll a few dice and you get this article. And people need to be educated in how to distinguish the truth, for some definition of truth, actual human generated output versus AI slop, machine generated stuff that's just there to. It's being generated typically to make someone some money. And you looking at it is making someone some money somewhere.
Is there anything we can someone's invented where you can just click a button, you can find out if it's AI or if it's you?
Well, so we've in universities we've had to worry about that kind of thing, because it used to be you'd say, okay, go home and write an essay, and everyone would have to think and write and then maybe type it up. And now people go home and they type it into ChatGPT and they get an essay. So
it says a certain percentage how much AI.
Exactly. So we have AI detection software. Most universities around the world now use it. But I think every AI detection software that I've seen could be a lot better. So it comes up with a number. It might say this article is 99% generated by AI, but often, unfortunately, it's just wrong. Or rather, it's wrong sufficiently often that you can't fully trust it. So at my university, we tend only to run those AI tests if we, the human reading the document, think that there's a problem. And then if it says that there is a problem, we then call the student in and have a chat with them and try and understand why the AI is saying, the AI detection is saying that it was machine generated. And sometimes the student just says, oh God, I'm really sorry. And then we have to deal with it that way. But other times, the student has actually written it themselves, and so it would be terrible to punish someone for a crime they didn't commit. But I think the generative AI is getting better and better, so it will always be hard to have an accurate detection software. And the key thing about it is in the name, generative. It generates new material every time. So then you have to do kind of statistical analysis on that new material to work out the likelihood that it comes from
It's
AI.
real.
So if it's an image
it
and
will
everyone's
get
got
very
8
hard to
fingers,
do
yeah,
eventually.
yeah. I mean, right now, if it's an image and one or more of the people in the image have got 8 fingers on one hand, you kind of think, well, that's probably AI. But surely the people that are writing those image generators are working on the code that makes sure that the number of fingers is always 5 or less. And so, you know, that the AI detection is always going to be running behind what the AI can actually do. So that's my answer.
Yeah. Well, so if Dave, you said you're retiring.
Yeah.
What does life look like for you after retirement?
Well, I'll still be involved at the university. So there's this honorary title. Currently, I'm a professor, and then they attach the word emeritus. So I'll be emeritus professor, which just means retired professor who can still go to the university. I can still use the library, still do some teaching if they want me. For the last 4 years, I've been training to be a silversmith, and I like making jewellery. So I'll be doing a lot of jewellery making, and also
you're very good at that. You made me a few pieces and
that ring there.
and a necklace, and it was
and I'm involved with a company that issues rent guarantees to people that have very poor credit history, and that company's. It uses a lot of technology. In fact, I do their AI and machine learning, and it's going really, really well. And I find that really rewarding because they're helping people. They're helping people that are down on their luck economically. They're trying to rent accommodation and they haven't got a guarantee, and this company provides a guarantee for those people. So yeah, I'll be very busy, and I'll be coming here once every 3 weeks for a haircut.
Yeah, for a haircut.
The best haircuts in Bristol.
Thank you. Well, it was a pleasure talking to you, Dave.
I enjoyed it. Great.
And
Thanks
time flies when you're having fun. And thank you very much to be on Chop and Chat. Appreciate that you gave your precious time.
No, thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed it.
Amazing.
Great.
Thank you, Dave.
Cheers.